Good evening, everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you to everyone. On behalf of the Islamic Society of Milwaukee, I would like to welcome all of you to today's vigil. I thank you all for taking the time to come out and to commemorate what has been for all of us a very difficult and challenging year. For a year now, on a daily basis, we've witnessed a genocide taking place before our eyes, funded and armed by our government using our tax dollars to slaughter tens of thousands of innocent civilians. We're always told that, oh, these numbers are the numbers of the health ministry, which is controlled by Hamas. And the sad part of it is that 41 or 42,000 is clearly just not the exact number, but it is part of the people who have been killed, part of the people who we don't know what the total number is, those who are buried under the rubble. We don't know those who are dying because of starvation. We don't know how many are dying because of disease. When I believe it was the Lancet said that it could have been or could be 180,000, 200,000, we really don't know. And by the time this war ends, we don't know. Is it 500,000? What number of people are dying because of either directly being slaughtered or because of disease or other things? What we do know is that we can see it before our eyes. And what we do know is that our occupiers, the Israeli government, has demonstrated to us again and to the world that they can never tell the truth about anything. They can't tell the truth about the number being killed. They can't tell the truth about who's being targeted. They're not telling you the truth about the fact that they're denying people food and water and medical care. What they're trying to spread to the world and to the media, which I believe has been now exposed to most people around the world as being a bunch of lies. They continue to peddle their false narratives because they want to continue to exterminate, and I use that word intentionally. Their intention is to exterminate the people of Gaza, either directly or indirectly. Here in Wisconsin, the group that has come together, which is a coalition of many, many groups, is the Wisconsin Coalition for Justice in Palestine. I believe now that it's close to 80 groups that have come together to fight against this unjust war against a civilian population. Your MC for tonight is a co-chair and a founder, first of all, a founder of Jewish Voice for Peace. She is one of the co-founders here in Wisconsin of Jewish Voice for Peace. One of the groups that has stood up and taken a very strong stance, a principled stance against what the Israeli government is doing, and they reject the idea that the racist, colonialist, settler state of Israel speaks for all Jews. Clearly, Jewish Voice for Peace wants everyone to know that they do not speak for them or for other Jews who on a matter of principle cannot support the racist state and its genocidal policies. Rachel Ida Buff is also, besides being one of the co-founders of Jewish Voice for Peace, she is a co-chair of the Wisconsin Committee for Justice in Palestine. She's also a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Before I have her come up, just two technical things. One, many of you have received, or maybe you have pictures. I've been asked that if a photographer comes around and they're going to take your pictures, or if you have a sign, just hold up the sign or the picture in front of you when the photographer comes by. The second thing is flowers were being distributed. And again, this is something symbolic that will be brought up at the end of this vigil. And again, it goes with the message of today's vigil, that no matter what the Israeli government does, no matter how much they try to oppress and to eradicate and to exterminate and to eliminate and to murder and to bomb and to devastate, in the end, the Palestinian people in Gaza will rise. It is my honor to introduce to you your MC for tonight, Rachel Buff, Dr. Buff.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Salam alaikum. Shalom. This is a very somber occasion tonight. You know, we've met a lot of places this year in protest and rage and agony, and I'm really happy that we're coming together, and I'm just slayed by the reasons that we've been together all these times. In our Jewish teachings, every person is a universe. And I know tonight that we're all thinking about all the universes that we've lost in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, in Yemen. I know that those universes, their beautiful promise, their stories, their experiences, I know that they're hovering around us tonight, and I know that we're mindful of that because we're here to honor them in part. So I'm going to MC tonight. I also, before it was decided that I was going to MC, was going to read a poem. And then when we decided I was going to MC, I decided I'd read another poem, because MCs can do whatever they want. So this is a poem I wrote for us a long time ago in 2021, when I thought things really couldn't get much worse. Never asked that. What could be worse? Terrible question. So this is a poem for Radical Milwaukee. We meet at the unbearable times of murder, of the violence wrought by empire, by xenophobia and white supremacy, by Islamophobia, by transphobia. We meet because we can't abide these moments alone. At these meetings, we are Arab and Latinx, Black and Indigenous, Asian American and white. We are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, secular, pagan, and witches. We are queer and straight and non-binary. We are born here or born there. We stand together in solidarity, in grief. We say, no more. We say, not in our names. We say, this ends here and now, no matter what. And the work doesn't end there. No. Right here, right now, we begin to imagine what the billions in military aid given to Israel by the United States since 1948 might have brought us instead. What splendid dwellings it might have built for people who never had to leave home, never were refugees. We dream of what the billions budgeted for policing in our city might do, what parks and schools and housing for all, what free art classes, clinics, restaurants we could have, what our city would be like if our young people didn't breathe in fear of being murdered by police. Right here, right now, we open a collective savings account for what is rightfully ours, the world waiting only for courage and love to build it. All right, my first lovely task, I was kind of hoping, but I didn't dare to hope that this would happen, that Amin Atal would do a Quranic recitation. So Amin, please come up and do that.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening to everyone. I'll be reciting a passage from the Quran, which is the holy book for Muslims. I'll be reciting a passage that discusses God's commitment to justice and the need for us as human beings to also maintain the same commitment to justice. I'll go ahead and start by reading the translation of the verses in English, and then I'll go ahead and read the Arabic. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Remember God's favor upon you and the covenant He made with you when you said, "We hear and obey." And be mindful of God. Surely God knows best what is in the heart. O believers, stand firm for God and bear true testimony. Do not let the hatred of a people lead you to injustice. Be just, that is closer to righteousness. And be mindful of God. Surely God is all aware of what you do. God has promised those who believe and do good His forgiveness and a great reward. As for those who disbelieve and deny our signs, they will be the residents of hellfire. O believers, remember God's favor upon you, when a people sought to harm you, but He held their hands back from you. Be mindful of God, and in God let the believers put their trust. I'll now recite the verses in Arabic. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم وميثاقه الذي واثقكم به إذ قلتم سمعنا وأطعنا واتقوا الله إن الله عليم بذات الصدور. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. وعد الله الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم مغفرة وأجر عظيم. والذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا أولئك أصحاب الجحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ هم قوم أن يبسطوا إليكم أيديهم فكف أيديهم عنكم واتقوا الله وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. صدق الله العظيم. Thank you.
expression for how your dad is probably feeling right now. It's called kvelling. And it just means like your heart is full of pride. And I'm not even your parent, and I feel that way right now. Okay, and next up we have Samantha Major, who is Dakota and Assiniboine. She teaches at Marquette University, and she's going to speak to us about the parallels between Indigenous history here and Indigenous history in Palestine.
Petukde wahi ishish didakuye washake washakapi ga badehi chiabiye. Hello, my relatives. I wanted to greet you in the Dakota language. And I started by saying hello, my relatives. I also said I'm here today because my relatives were strong and they took courage. I'm going to speak more about Dakota history, but the Native nations who call Milwaukee home, the Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Potawatomi, many other nations who have always gathered here, they too have these kinds of stories. For the Dakota people, our exile from our homelands in Minnesota, Makoche, what is now called the state of Minnesota, is still on the books. And the governor at the time of our exile and our genocide, stemming from the war in 1862, but of course the seeds of which were sown much earlier than that. The governor of Minnesota at that time, Governor Ramsey, spoke in ways that I recognize in the rhetoric we're seeing today. Talking about wiping a people off the map, chasing people from homelands. This is what we've seen here and what I recognize, can't help but recognize in what we are seeing in this moment. I just want to highlight one of the words that I used. If there are any words, it's difficult to have words at all. But my favorite Dakota word is Ladihichiapi. Ladihichiapi means, it's usually used as kind of an exclamation, and it's asking you to take courage. And if you look at sort of the roots of the word, that English translation doesn't really say it all, but it means to strengthen oneself in all the ways that you can, because you know that hardship is coming, and in many ways hardship is here. And a gathering like this with folks who understand and see the world, I hope will help us to take courage to strengthen ourselves, because more work needs to be done. Thank you all.
So beautiful. Thank you, Sam. Next we have the courageous Reverend Lisa Bates Farland, speaking for Wisconsin Christians for Justice in Palestine and her congregation, Evangelical Lutheran Church of America. Yes, sorry, didn't know the acronym.
In late July, my daughter Maddie, who's sitting right over there, returned to Wisconsin after living and working in Palestine for the previous 3 years. She misses the colleagues and friends and loved ones that she left behind, and she checks in with several of them every day. When she comes downstairs for coffee in the kitchen each morning, my first question to her is, "And how are things in Palestine?" And I hope to hear, perhaps, something like an update about her goddaughter's day in preschool. Too many mornings, though, are like today. They beat an old man to death near Hebron. Ziad Abu Haleo, known widely for placing himself between Israeli police and protesters to prevent violence. Today, the IOF struck him twice in the chest and then slammed him into a door. He was 66 years old. Besides a mother, I am a Lutheran pastor and a lifelong Christian, and for this past year, I have participated alongside so many others of you in the Wisconsin Coalition for Justice in Palestine. We are multi-faith, multi-age, and of multiple political perspectives, something I deeply treasure. And for all of those differences, we somehow can all acknowledge and recognize a human atrocity, a genocide, when it is brazenly on display before our very eyes. I attended a rally on the steps of the federal courthouse downtown last week, and for the first time, I could see and feel the weariness, the exhaustion of the activists gathered there. How can it be a year later and Gazan babies and children are still murdered and starved and traumatized every passing day? The only encouragement that I felt from the activists gathered on those stone steps was observing this recognition of solidarity in the faces and the voices that have become familiar over this time. And this little spark, that at least the truth is acknowledged by some, along with the shared bravery to keep speaking out and keep showing up, despite the heavy cost that some of us have had to pay. Sometime in the future, and I don't know when, but surely there will be memorials to the innocent Gazans and the West Bank Palestinians killed and injured, buried under rubble in Gaza, and the prisons and the farm fields, while our leaders in this country said over and over again, Israel has a right to defend itself. Those who were and are too afraid to speak out, or who have bought into Zionist narratives, including Christian Zionist narratives, and the racism and the religious prejudice that keeps the killing going. And then there are the scores who have decided not to know and not to care. In time, a shroud of shame will fall over these United States for all the bombs that we have sent and keep sending, and the death and destruction our dollars have funded, while the captives languish and diplomacy fails. A shroud of shame again upon us. Nearly all of the rest of the countries of the world seem to get it, but not the United States. And not the majority of Christians. It hurts my heart so much to hear Palestinian Christians cry, "Where is the global church? We are dying in the homeland of Jesus. Why are you silent?" While Christian Zionists, who are louder and richer and more numerous than Jesus followers like me, they slice and dice and flagrantly misread the Old Testament in order to rationalize military vengeance and displacement and land grabs. What distinguishes a Christian is, obviously, a particular belief in who Jesus Christ was and is, fully God, fully human. The Zionists will rarely, if ever, mention the actual words of Jesus. Yet it only makes sense to read the words of Jesus from the Gospels for guidance, if that is the faith that you claim to follow, and to make the connections and to act accordingly. So this is a justice passage in the words of Jesus, said to people assembled by the Sea of Galilee, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who hunger now, who are starving now, you will be satisfied. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are all who mourn, for they will be comforted. And blessed are you when people hate you and revile you, exclude you and insult you, and reject your name as evil because of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day, leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven. Woe to you who are rich," he continued. "You have already received your comfort. Woe to you who are well fed now. You will go hungry. Woe to you who laugh now. You will mourn and weep. Woe to you when everyone speaks so well of you. That is how the ancestors threatened the prophets." There are just a small number of indigenous Christians still residing in historical Palestine. Many made the heartbreaking choice to disperse to other countries rather than continue imperiled under occupation. In this land of Jesus' birth and death and resurrection, where he taught and healed and fed thousands, Christian churches are being bombed and bulldozed and abandoned, and those still standing may become just museums for visiting tourists rather than places of vital community. There are about 2,000 Lutherans in Palestine as I speak tonight, and their destiny is utterly bound up with their fellow Palestinians of all faiths and no faiths, now under the rocket's red glare. In this year of war and loss, the Palestinian Lutherans opened one new ministry building. They opened a building this year, and they called it the Church of Life. And it's a tiny chapel in Bethlehem, and it's across the street from a cemetery. Its functional purpose is for funerals. And sometimes this year, the promised life beyond this one seems the only source of comfort and hope. Yet, I believe Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free. And those who mourn will be comforted. And there are millions of people who now know the story of Palestine, the people, the culture, the occupation, who did not know any of it last year. The allies keep coming forward with louder voices, with better TikToks, with fervent prayers for justice and peace and freedom for every peace-loving and peace-pursuing human being created by a loving and merciful God everywhere. Amen. It shall be so.
So, Dr. King used to talk about the beloved community that would make change. So I just want to take a minute and ask you to just look around. These are the people that have been marching and grieving and supporting each other for this terrible 366 days, and we will be doing that for as long as it takes. And as you look around, you may notice some absences, like the media, right? We are invisibilized. I can tell you, because I'm on the coalition's writing committee, we write some good press releases. Doesn't matter. We make a lot of press phone calls. Doesn't matter. We are invisible to the press. We are rendered invisible because there is such a strong Zionist lock on the media in this town. I know that sounds like a horrible anti-Semitic thing to say, so every time I say it, I'm like, oh my God. But it's kind of true here. There's calls, there's fears, there's bullying that happens, and there's no equal coverage. Some other constituency that you won't see, that were in evidence yesterday at the Milwaukee Jewish Federation's commemoration of October 7th, are politicians. Many of our politicians are too afraid to support what their constituents very clearly want. But there is one who has been with us all along, who has stood up, who has risked his literal career for us. Ryan Clancy, please stand up. We appreciate what you do so very deeply. Thank you. Next, we will hear from Imam Rami Bibo, who's the ISM Imam. Thank you so much for coming.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن Peace be upon all of you. May God's peace, blessings be upon every single one of you, and more importantly upon the people of Gaza, the people of Palestine, the people of Lebanon, and the people of Syria, the people of Yemen, and all those that have been subjected to these atrocities by the pariah Israeli Zionist state. Before I start, I just want to make a quick announcement for the Muslim community that inshallah for Isha prayer, we will be praying Isha after the program over here inshallah. So we will have Isha prayer at the program after the program is done over here at this building with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Amin, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, texted me to speak today, I'm honestly out of words. I'm drained. I don't know what I can say that you already do not know. I've honestly texted some of my activist friends and imams around the nation on a group text saying I have a 2-3 minute speech. I'm just drained, out of words. What can be said? Any suggestions? And all of them, their reply was, may God be with you. There's nothing we could add. But for me, I just want to mention that this issue hits personally for me. I'm of Palestinian descent, and I've lived a part of my life, and obviously my studies were in Lebanon, where a vast majority of my family still resides till today. Teachers, friends, neighbors, loved ones are in Lebanon right now, in the southern region of Lebanon in specific as well. So it hits home a bit differently, and that's why it's too much to put into words. So I'll fall back on a few messages that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran highlights for us. Number one, God says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Do not say or consider those that were martyred and killed in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as dead. Rather, they are alive and being provided for and blessed by their Lord. That is the first message, that for those that have been killed and murdered by the Israeli war machine, God has chosen them to be in a better place. They're too good to be with us in this dunya. God has chosen them and honored them to take them and be in His company, in the heavens, in the blessings of God, the All-Merciful. However, for the ones that remain in Gaza, specifically, and in the West Bank, and all of Palestine, and Lebanon, 1 year has passed of all these atrocities that we have seen, and their steadfastness, their perseverance, their determination, everything that they went through, I can honestly say if there's a group of people that deserve to live life to its fullest, it's them. If there are people out there that deserve to be liberated and free and enjoy the luxuries of this life, it's the people in Gaza that have went through what they went through in this past year. While God has honored the martyred ones, and they're in better company right now, and as believers, we are certain of that, it is our duty as people of justice to stand up and honor the ones that are still alive in Gaza. It's our duty to ensure that they are given and provided the life, the liberty and justice and prosperity that every human being deserves, that we all get to enjoy. It's our duty to stand up and make sure we stand firmly for justice, as God ordains us to bring them justice and bring them freedom and liberty as well. And we will not stop. Yes, we're drained. Yes, we're mentally exhausted. Yes, we are tired, but guess what? The people of Gaza are too. The people of Gaza are too, yet they still remain steadfast. They still remain they're still persevering. They're still standing up strong and not backing down, and therefore we must not back down as well. We must not back down. We must be relentless in our approach. We must be relentless in our strategy to do whatever we can within our boundaries and capabilities to bring justice for the people of Palestine and all throughout the region as well. And I want to finish with two quick personal stories from some of my friends and family in Lebanon. There's a community member from our community, he's in Malak, I'm not sure if he's here today or not, he's from southern Lebanon. Who's actually from the city that's been bombarded more so than any other city in Lebanon up to this point. The southernest point of Lebanon, right on the Israeli borders. When the airstrikes started 2 weeks ago in Lebanon, I called his old family friend. I called him to say salam, to check up on him. I said, how is your family doing? He has a lot of families in southern Lebanon. How are they doing? Is everything okay? He said, the entire city is demolished. Homes are gone. The entire family has evacuated to Beirut. And then right after that, he said, I said, may God be with you. He said, this is a price we will pay for standing up for the people of justice, for the people of Gaza, and we are not better than the people of Gaza. That is the mentality of the people in Lebanon. I've called family members and friends and asked if anybody needs to be evacuated or to go up north. I've had some of my Palestinian family members that said, listen, we've been forcibly expelled from our homelands in 1948. We will not be forced to leave again. We will not do that again. We will stay here. And if we need to die, let our blood be the fuel that will rage the fire of the world against the pariah Israeli Zionist state.
Yes!
The people on the ground in Gaza and Lebanon, that is their mentality. That is their position. They've taken a decision that enough is enough. Enough is enough. After 1 year, we must take that stand as well, and we must exert all of our power and all of our efforts to bring an end to this genocide, to bring an end to the occupation, to bring an end to the apartheid, and to bring an end to this injustice that is taking place throughout the entire Middle East with one catalyst, the Israeli Zionist regime. And with that, I will finish with the final message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says that can bring some comfort to our heart is وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. And surely the wrongdoers will come to meet their evil ending at their appointed time. Wrongdoers and oppressors will meet the consequences of their wrongdoing and their oppression. If not in this world, in the court of the mighty all-just, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the people of Gaza. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the people of Lebanon. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all those that are oppressed all over the world. And we must not stop and we must not give up. We must continue in doing what we can, because again, they have not given up and they have not stopped. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Such powerful words tonight. It pains me as a Jewish person to tell you that there is not an ordained rabbi in this town who would be here tonight. Despite the teachings of our Torah, to reiterate, every person is a universe. Despite, thou shalt not kill. However, there is a generation of brilliant, young, anti-Zionist rabbis coming up, and they are changing and going to change the world. So I want to introduce our wonderful Sam, a rabbinic student from Havarat Torah, to speak with you.
In Jewish culture, when we hear that a person has died, there's two main phrases that we say. The first is from Mishnah, which is Talmud Oral Torah, from Berachot 9, and it goes, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, blessed is the judge of truth. The second is derived from Proverbs 10, Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. And these are maybe difficult things to hear and understand each on their own right now. How can this horrific violence, the immeasurable destruction and death, how can that be part of God's truth? How can this pain, the memory of all these people who should still be alive, how can that be a blessing? Anyone who's lost someone can testify to the fact that loss is just loss. It just hurts. And yes, eventually, hopefully, it hurts less often in less overwhelming ways, but it's not a blessing. And certainly, regardless of whether you've lost someone personally, it's obvious how overwhelmingly horrible this is. This isn't just one death. It isn't 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, any of which would be horrific enough. So why do we say these things? The key is in putting the two phrases together. Blessed is the judge of truth, and may the memory of the martyrs in Gaza and beyond be a blessing. The memories, the grief is a bitter feeling, but in our grief we are moved to act for truth. We are moved to gather as a community, to lean on one another, to organize and persist and pursue justice. And in that, we can reflect truth in the world, and in that, there is blessing. It has been 366 days of hell, and we know this didn't start a year ago, and we know that there's pain and protest, and so far, it's not enough. And we know that we need an arms embargo, and we know that we need a ceasefire, and we know that we need emergency health care and other humanitarian care, and so many basic food and medical resources to get into Gaza. And we know that we need so much more in terms of dismantling these systems of oppression and in terms of reparations. And literally all of this was known a year ago. It's been known for years, decades. And today the violence is only spreading to Lebanon and elsewhere. My heart hurts, my head hurts, but surely not in ways they normally would, ways that might slow me down. Instead, it's like my soul is screaming, like marching and yelling and crying are the only rational responses. And so I'll say, blessed is the judge of truth, who bends the arc of history toward justice, who hears the cries of Gaza and of the West Bank and Lebanon and beyond, who enables us to remember this day and the whole of the year, and who enables us to listen to Palestinians and act for justice. And may the memories of each martyr be a blessing in the form of revolution and justice and one day peace. And let us say, Amen.
Beautiful. As has been said, it's been a wild year. And unfortunately, we have someone who documents all the crazy, who flies drones over our protests to see how many people are there and get footage of everybody's hair at the top, because you got to see that. Somebody who's been, as a historian, let me say that if the press wants to forget us now, history would like to forget that we existed. So it's really, really important what Yassine does to document and preserve our beautiful, powerful movement. Sandra, the press is here, I'm so sorry. Sandra is here documenting this, so we do have media. We need to leave you out. So Yassine is going to show us some clips of the last year. I think, yes?
ونقرأ القرآن ونقدر شوي. شو رأيك؟
Hey everyone, this is Bisam from Gaza. Well, this is Bisam from Gaza with Still Life.
Have you ever seen destruction like this, even in the end of the world movies? No, we have never seen anything like this. And who's gonna repair this? Who's gonna rebuild this, huh?
نحكي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. برافو عليكي، هيك حافظة. انت عمري؟
For 76 years, the Palestinian people have been subjected to apartheid, occupation, and crimes against humanity. The cruelty of the Zionist regime is nothing new. And yet, in this last year, Israel has continued to reach new levels of depravity that were once unimaginable. Despite Israel's targeting of refugee camps and schools, reports of hospital massacres, photos of cratering bombs, and decisions from the highest courts in the world condemning Israel's crimes, the United States has continued to affirm their allyship with Israel.
In this moment of tragedy, I want to say to them and to the world and to terrorists everywhere that the United States stands with Israel. We will not ever fail to have their back.
But we refuse to be complicit.
I'm here to announce a coalition.
We need to do something. We need to hold our government accountable, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian or no religion whatsoever.
To help bring about an accurate narrative.
Fortunately, in this moment of history, our lands have seen similar things and similar stories.
Because as we've seen events unfold, one of the things that was first lost is the truth.
People will never be defeated.
The people united will never be defeated.
Here in Milwaukee. I've been practicing law here in this very courthouse for the last 2 decades. And as we practice law, we talk about justice. What's happening in Gaza is anything but justice.
And I proclaim what it is, and Israel is committing genocide in Palestine. There's no two ways about it.
And a human being recognizes when a genocide is taking place and when a ceasefire needs to happen.
We cannot shrink in our duty, we must only rise in our duty.
What are the disadvantages of a ceasefire?
You are claiming that one Israeli life is as valuable as 157 Palestinian lives.
How are you going to look at your grandchildren, great-grandchildren? What's going to be your response? I supported the killing of innocent people. I supported genocide. Yeah, I feel real good about that.
It is traumatizing to me as a Jew to watch the country I call home fund a Holocaust perpetrated by the country that claims to be a sanctuary for Jews.
This isn't a both sides thing. This is a one side committing a genocide against another.
We will not forget your stance when your seat is open for re-election.
A permanent ceasefire is only the very, very, very beginning. Ending the occupation and giving Palestinians the right to freedom and self-determination is the goal, not the ceasefire. The ceasefire is just a nominal step that we can take.
We know injustice when we see it. We know a war crime when we see it. We know genocide when we see it. Wisconsin knows the truth. And we are not alone.
We want to get rid of an oppressive, apartheid, subjugating, occupied system.
Like the people of Palestine, we will persist. We will resist. And we will not stop until all people are free.
From the river to the sea.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes, okay. That was good to see. It's good to see what we've accomplished together this past year under such terrible circumstances. Next speaker is David Saha from this community. Come on up, David.
Assalamu alaikum. I am a Christian Palestinian born in Palestine, in Jerusalem. Gives me much comfort to be here with my Muslim brothers and sisters, my Jewish supporters, and all others that have stood by us. I made a few notes, and while I was sitting, listening to everyone, I decided just to take a different path. I immigrated here in 1954 with my parents and my 4-year-old brother. I was 7, and it was difficult. We were isolated. We didn't have work, we didn't have a place to live, but we survived. I'm ashamed to tell you that in my younger years, I lost my Arabic language. I lost it because I asked my parents not to speak to me in Arabic in public. I'm ashamed of that. I since have read and learned the story of the Palestinians. And I am not standing back any longer. I will acknowledge my Palestinian background to anybody. I will not stop talking about the wrongs that have been done to us and the injustice we have faced over and over again. How many times are they going to move us? How many times are they going to kill us? All of us have to stand up. I live in a high-rise, and people ask what is going on. I don't step back, I step forward, and I try to explain to them as quickly as possible. Reverend Bates, Fräulein, and her daughter provided us with some olive hearts to commemorate the 8,000 Palestinian children that have been killed. That goes back to 87. We're up to 14,000 now. And And I've been giving those hearts out everywhere. They're surprised that there's Christians among Palestinians. And they're curious, they're hungry. Each and every one of us, every one of you out there, open your mouth and explain. We cannot stand back. We have to let people know the injustice that's been done to us. And the other thing I want to say is we have to learn. We have to learn the Western world. We have to learn how we get our message across. These are things that happen here in the U.S. The 9/11, it's commemorated every year. People of the Jewish faith are going to commemorate their losses every year. And I am proud that we are here acknowledging what happened to us. And I wish that the Christians in this society would step up further and acknowledge and commemorate the deaths of not just Christians, but also Muslims and other faiths. So where do we go from here? What should we do? It's an uphill battle, and we're ready to face it. But we're all worn out. We're tired of fighting. We need to get smarter in our fight. We need to go directly to the source, our politicians. I'm very happy to see that the general attitude in this country is finally changing. I was talking to Jeanette earlier. We're talking about empire, this U.S. empire. And we acknowledge to each other that no empire lasts forever. And I'm very, very happy to see the young and others seeing the evilness of this regime in Israel. And it's growing, it's worldwide. And I think winning the hearts of the people in this country is well on its way. People are realizing the truth of the situation and what we have had to face. So I ask all of you, don't be a coward as I was. Step up, acknowledge who you are, and spread the word. We're good people, and people know us as good people. Let's keep pushing forward until we finally finish the course.
Thank you, David. It's hard to do the work he's talking about, to bring it up in the conversation when everybody would just like to go get coffee, to say something to a recalcitrant family member that's pointed and gentle, to stand on our principles. And so I really appreciate your courage and your urging us on. Thank you. Next we have Angela Lane, amazing local and national leaders of Black leaders organizing for change, organizing communities. She's a member of our Wisconsin Coalition for Justice in Palestine Executive Committee, and a really powerful spokesperson and representative. Thank you.
Good evening. First, I want to say thank you for having me and inviting me to speak tonight. It's beautiful to see such diversity during an incredibly difficult time. But it is community that keeps us together, and Block is proud to be a part of the Coalition for Justice in Palestine. The video that we just saw gave me chills. We're exhausted, we're mourning, we're grieving, we're heartbroken. But the resistance that we saw in that video is beautiful, and it will continue to be for as long as it takes. Our liberation is tied together. It's a reflection of our shared humanity. We see the absolute cruelty happening in Gaza, and we have the hearts to speak out. But some, for whatever reason, call it radical to be against a genocide. 1 year of this genocide, and even longer for those suffering under the occupation, and still people can't bring themselves to use the word genocide. But yet the images and videos that we've all seen do not lie. We cannot get those images out of our heads, nor should we, as they are a reminder of the continued fight and struggle that we all need to be in together. 1 year of heartache. Heartache that is unimaginable, and heartache that should never have happened, nor should it continue. In the block office, we reflected about what this 1 year meant. And I'll admit, some of our members, some of our team members, they don't know the ins and outs, every detail, every policy. But they say, I don't need to know. Right is right and wrong is wrong. War crimes and genocide are wrong. And those that deny that are heartless, and I feel bad for them, that they can't even see basic humanity. Our community knows the fear of state-sanctioned violence as Black folks. It was after Mike Brown was murdered in Ferguson where I fully understood the connection between the Black and the Palestinian struggle. It was Palestinians who were sharing how to deal with the effects of tear gas and the military weapons deployed on protesters after a cop murdered an innocent Black man. And we started to understand as a community that those same Israeli soldiers are the ones that train police department cops locally. We understand that connection, and just that link makes our liberations tied that much more together. We will keep fighting through the pain, through the exhaustion, because we know that our tax dollars should not and will not continue to fund a genocide. We know that our tax dollars should not be used to murder innocent people. And we will not stop fighting together, as exhausted and tired as we are. We see the beauty and the humanity just in this room, even if it feels that this is all we got. We have each other. And I don't say that to minimize and to sound all happy, but there is power in the community that has been built through struggle. And if we are going to struggle together, then we will continue to struggle together. And we will not stop until Palestine is free. Thank you.
That is a person who wore a keffiyeh to the White House right there. Our next speaker is Hashim Zebek, who is the owner of Hayat Pharmacy, and he's from Gaza with many friends and family there.
Assalamu alaikum everybody and good evening. When Sister Janan and Brother Salah called me to speak, and I was in the back of my mind, I was like, what am I going to speak about? Everybody's seeing it. It's on the news, it's on the social media. We've seen all the destruction. But then I thought about bringing my niece who lived for 12 years in Gaza. She's been through 4 major wars in her lifetime, and she spent the first 100 days inside Gaza, the first 100 days of the war, and then she was able to leave. And I wanted you to listen to her and see what she's going to tell you about her experience. And I'll translate it, and then I'll have a couple of words to say after that. Okay? So her name is Jude.
Hi, my name is Jude. كنا بالحق أنا صحيت من النوم فجأة هيك على صوت قذائف بتطلع. سألت ماما إنه شو القصة شو صار؟ حكت لي إنه استني بدنا نسأل بابا. حكينا إنه يمكن تصعيد زي كل مرة وهيك بس إنه خلص هدي الوضع فجأة. أول ما بدأ الليل صار إشي رعب. قذائف بتطلع انفجارات إشي مش طبيعي. بعدها ضل الوضع زي هيك لا 13 أكتوبر.
So she was saying that they woke up on the 8th of October, the day after the initial day, and then they started the attack, and then she asked her mom, what's going on? Is this going to be just and then her mom said, maybe it's going to be just an escalation, a short-term escalation, and it will go back to normal. And then she started asking her dad, and then that's when they knew that the war actually started.
بعد على يوم 13 أكتوبر فجأة الساعة 9 الصبح سمعنا إنه أخبار اطلعوا من الشمال من منطقة الشمال اطلعوا على الجنوب عندهم.
And on the 13th of October, they were told to leave the north. That's where they lived in the city of Gaza. So that's the northern part of Gaza Strip. And then they were told to leave to the south.
بالأول حكينا إنه يمكن إشاعات أو إنه ما توقعناش إنه عن جد. فبالأخير طلع لا حقيقة فطلعنا وإحنا ما أخذنا ولا إشي مهم لأنه إحنا على كلمة إنه رح نرجع المغرب أو رح نرجع بكرة يعني أكتر إشي توقعنا إنه يومين.
So they left rushing, and they thought that this was just going to be a short-term thing, that they were going to come back the same day at night or the next day. So they didn't take much clothes and they didn't take anything with them, and they just went to the south.
فبعد ما نسمع الأخبار حكينا يمكن أسبوعين. بالأخير عرفنا إنه احتمال كبير إنه مش رح نرجع.
And then they were following the news, and they were initially saying it's going to take a week or 2 weeks. And then at the end, they knew that their chance of returning is not, it's not going to be easy for them to return during this cycle of war. And then, so they stayed on the southern part of Gaza for the rest of the 100 days in Deir al-Balah. So they were in the city of Deir al-Balah. And obviously, I mean, my sister is actually there. She told me that they would have one of like a pita bread, and they would cut it in half, and that the first half would be their breakfast, and then they would save the other half for dinner. Very limited access to food or even the necessary stuff or the things that they needed for survival.
واللبس كان مستحيل نلاقيه يلبسوا.
And then finding even clothes, because they left with only what their clothes on, whatever they had on, and it was very hard to find any other clothes to change and purchase. And then some of you might know that I was actually born in Gaza. I was born in the hospital, Al-Shifa Hospital, which was like, you can think of it like the St. Luke's of Gaza. And it was the biggest hospital. And it was pretty sad to see it destroyed. It was it's 100% destroyed right now. And as a Palestinian American, I feel terrible. I mean, I feel sorry. I want to tell the rest of the people. I mean, my niece was one of the lucky ones who was able to leave. But for the ones who are still there, and I have hundreds of cousins and tens of uncles and aunts who are still there, I just want to tell them I'm sorry. As an American, I can help my American friends. As a pharmacist, I can provide them with their insulin and their blood pressure medicine, and if they have asthma, I can get them their inhalers. But I can't do anything to help my families who are in there right now. Inshallah, this will change soon, and inshallah, we'll hear the end to this, and inshallah, Gaza will be free and Palestine will be free soon.
Our next speaker really needs no introduction. I've spent the year working very closely with Janan, and I have no idea how she does it. She's everywhere with everyone. She has plans and ambitions all over the city and the state. She's talking to people. She's running a nonprofit. She's running this coalition. She has new ideas every single day. I get texts from her late at night and early in the morning. She's the heart of us. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace be with you, and thank you so much, Rachel. Rachel is amazing. She's the only one that'll be up at 2 in the morning when I'm up to get my text. So she's kind of in the same boat. You know, I had a speech, but you guys have heard, there's really not much more that I can add to what has already been said, all of the heartfelt words that have really been said. But what I just want to kind of, you know, say, I know these past few days, one of the things that we keep hearing from the media over and over is that, you know, nothing can justify what happened on October 7th. Not the Nakba of 1948 that led to, you know, 1 million Palestinians being dispossessed and their land taken. Not 1967, not 1973, not Sabra and Shatila, none of this is supposed to be justified. Not even the 3 Gazans that were killed by Israelis on October 6th. Nothing to them justifies October 7th, but an entire genocide that has claimed the lives of tens of thousands of children. An entire genocide that has just absolutely destroyed Gaza and is destroying Lebanon. All of that can be justified because of October 7th. The hypocrisy, the sheer hypocrisy. But you know, as David told you, we were talking about empire, and I'm going to, you know, I've mentioned this at the rally the other day, and I just want to mention it again because I want us to keep this in mind. We are living in the belly of an empire. We just masquerade as a democracy, but we are an empire, and empires are brutal. You heard from our indigenous nations. 90% of indigenous peoples were wiped out. They were exterminated by empire, the same empire. Israel is simply the settler colonialist state. Israel cannot survive without the empire. So what I want to tell you is that we cannot stop because we are the ones that are going to make the change. We are living in the empire. We are being silenced. Our students are being silenced. Why? Because it's going against what the empire wants. And the empire wants to keep people busy with their sports and their entertainment and everything else, and so nobody has to think about anything else or what the empire is doing. But we are awake. We are together going to be able to make the change. So all I want you to know is that really success and Palestine, a free Palestine is coming. It's just simply a matter of time. We have to continue to work. We have to continue to march. We have to continue to boycott and protest and yell and scream and do everything possible to keep the word of Palestine alive, to end this genocide, and it will happen with all of us together, inshallah. Don't give up, don't get tired. We're not going to get tired. I sit and I look at the people of Gaza that every time 100 bombs came down within 2 days, 100 bombs. And yet these people with their bare hands are running from place to place trying to find survivors. How can we say we're tired? We're not tired. We are going to keep at it and until Palestine is free. Free, free Palestine!
Some of you may know that we're in the period of the Jewish New Year. We're actually in the days of awe, which are between Rosh Hashanah, which was last Thursday, and Yom Kippur, which is Saturday, and this is where God writes the book of life if you are a believer in God, and you are to examine what has happened and how you might repair the universe. In my beautiful anti-Zionist congregation, Tzedek, in Chicago, we have a tradition where every year one of the musicians who works with the temple writes and rewrites a poem about the year and about our hopes for the year. And it's a poem based on and a tribute to the Jewish Puerto Rican poet Martín Espada. So this year, he felt like he couldn't handle it alone, so he crowdsourced the poem. He wrote a really long poem with everybody's visions. And it's called This Is the Year, and I'm going to read the whole thing to you. This is the last thing you have to do tonight, so don't worry about it. And you do have a role, which is when I do this. You have to yell, "This is the year," with me, okay? This is the year. I tried to get Adam to come up here and read it, but he had another gig. So, sorry, you got me. This is the year the temple falls again, and we rejoice. This is the year we return at last to our homeland of diaspora. This is the year Palestine is free. This is the year Teshuvah means land back, and making Aliyah means devoting a lifetime to rebuilding Gaza and for her people, replanting groves of olives, almonds, strawberries, and reassembling infrastructure with raw steel, copper, rubber, from dismantled fighter jets, missiles, and tanks. This is the year the grandmothers still clutching keys to family homes in Safed, Haifa, and Al-Khalisa return to frame and mount their keys above their fireplaces and brew pots of spiced coffee on the stove. This is the year. This is the year justice hits like hurricanes and we the people impose peace on all the profiteers of war. This is the year Lockheed makes saxophones, General Dynamics starts a line of cookware, and Mar-a-Lago is transformed into a solar farm. This is the year we melt and hammer guns into shovels, bullets into ankle barrels, and rockets into bicycles. This is the year we arm teachers with choice and living wages, and equip students with bulletproof layers of history and truth. This is the year banned books become bestsellers, and poems like this are classifying into non-fiction. This is the year we look back on 5, 10, 50, 100 years from now to mark the anniversary we made the racist, bigots, ruthless capitalists, and fascists irrelevant. This is the year students wake from encampments to news of their historic victories and cultivate food gardens on those sacred grounds, with fruit trees to mark the year we all rose up to nourish future mouths and minds and visions. This is the year. This is the year that bikes take over streets and cars are forced to drive on narrow lanes that suddenly disappear. This is the year we institute composting toilet systems worldwide and at last truly deal with our shit. This is the year we redistribute luxury housing to folks living under the viaducts and temporary shelters in 10 cities on the edge of town to displaced bankers and real estate developers. This is the year our skylines turn a lush and verdant green, and those who last year woke in prison cells, bug-ridden beds, and worn-down tents awake at dawn to sublime views of sunrise glittering on the lake. This is the year every country, city, and state declare a budget surplus from taxing the elites, and everywhere the people work and play in neighborhoods with thriving parks, schools, hospitals, homes. This is the year we walk into grocery stores without a wallet and walk out with heaping armfuls of fresh produce. This is the year that living paycheck to paycheck means planning which new musical instrument or international flights you'll get on next month. This is the year. This is the year we honor the treaties. National parks are restored to indigenous sacred sites. Sweetgrass sprawls from George Washington's ears. Sage bursts through Teddy Roosevelt's nose, and the Pahasapa grow wild and holy again. This is the year stories of hope and return, shared by refugees across generations, come to life in every cherished homeland. This is the year that those forced to flee their homes are welcomed everywhere, with bread and song, the million anthems of our common plight in every mother tongue. This is the year. This is the year the mob awakens, poor people unite, and choruses of women, queer and trans folks, the scorned, disabled, with tortured mouths, with molars cracked, and poised from centuries of biting back. Their righteous words open their lips and sing like birds, emboldened, joyful, free. This is the year we humans hear the cries of choking rivers, of ailing streams and wetlands, every gasping body of water, every parched piece of forest land, every buzzing, burrowing, soaring creature. This is the year we embrace what's left of Earth's precious bounty and beauty, and unite to rescue our blessed home for future generations. This is the year we break the forced fast for all who hunger for that beauty. This is the year our prayers and chants and songs pierce the palisades of psychic static and penetrate the walls of armored bunkers and even reach the halls of world powers enough to calm the feverish, toxic minds of rulers who for once will hear the cries of all the wounded children, displaced people, grieving mothers and lost souls, and finally come to look directly in the face of one starved, thirsty child whose promise of a peaceful future they have stolen. This is the year. This is the year the world reveres the rights of every human and the rights of nature, of all life, as much as human rights. This is the year forever ending the age of normalization of violence and destruction, of genocide and war. This is the year we find the faith and summon the courage to act upon our values, hopes, and visions rather than remaining paralyzed by our hates, fears, insecurities, prejudices, and doubts. This is the year we choose life for ourselves and for all children, inscribing 7 generations in the book of life. This is the year. This one, not next. Jerusalem reflects her name, a city shining with peace in a world filled with sacred places, flowing with open, permeable borders, facilitating life, autonomy, empowerment, without police or border walls or prisons. This is the year. Zion is wherever people live without dominating each other or the land. This is the year we can be fully Jewish and what's more human for the first time. This is the year we make known what has been made invisible, hidden from view. The year we acknowledge that which has been tucked away because it disturbs or seems unfit, foreign, un-Jewish. This is the year for the prophets, unadorned and naked, to be in full view, embodied. This is the year. Hear, O Israel. This is the year. The breath of life is our God. This is the year. All life, all liberation is all one. Free Palestine. Palestinians and Lebanese and Yemenis who live. Bring flowers to the water. We have water up here. Please bring your flowers up as kind of a symbolic rejuvenation of flowers. Thank you. Yes, everyone, that's the end of our scheduled program. Please bring up your flowers, stay and chat. All love to